Good evening, fuckers. We are back with another Train Simulator Classic request video. And for this one, I have two guests with me. So there's a good chance that at least one of them will bugger off during this, but well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Now, this is a request that came from Northlander 75, and that may well have you thinking, alright, this is going to be another one that goes on for a hell of a long time. And you'd be right. However, there is one thing about it that may mean it's not going to be quite as long as you think. It's not going to be a short one by any stretch, because we are on the Kyle line. Now, this has only appeared in one video so far on this channel, and we didn't go very far on it. So for this run we are starting at Inverness, which is where we started in the previous video, but as you can clearly see, we are doing the entire length of it. So our destination is Kyle of Lochalsh. Now, when I did the first video, or the only video on this run prior to this, our destination was Dingwall, which is not that far away. Well, at least it's not that far away by the crow, as the crow flies. But on this route, it's still far enough. I'll explain why when we get underway. Now, our choice of train, it's a bit of an inevitable choice really for a route like this. It is the Class 37, and why wouldn't you choose that? I tried to choose the Class 37 that is used on the West Highland Line extension, the Fort William to Malay section. Let's just say I got it a bit wrong, but well, let's hope that this is still a decent choice of the multiple Class 37s that I have available to me. I was actually quite tempted to put this one on hold until I had the Armstrong Powerhouse Class 37, but that is at least 2 months away, so yeah, that's a bit too long. And besides which, the Class 37 is the loco that has been, has been requested more than any other. So, yeah, I'm sure once I get the AP Class 37, it will be making multiple appearances. Now, as far as the specifics, it is autumn, it is clear, and it is 10:30. I haven't mentioned the actual train consist, and yeah, you can clearly see this is a custom consist, but well, there's a reason why I haven't mentioned it. I was asked for a very specific train, and I have put it together, but I have a feeling it may not be quite what Northlander was hoping for, which well, it will all become clear fairly soon, because that is the setup. So let's get this one up and running. And here we are. Quite a nice quick loading one, this. Now, let's get the train set up. Right, that's the train set up. It really is that quick. And here we are at Inverness station. And yeah, here is our consist. So what Northlander wanted was, yeah, a freight run transporting logs, which we are doing, but I'm not sure these are the sort of log transportation sort of wagons that he had in mind. I think he was hoping for like the really long ones that are sort of all open. But yeah, these are literally the only log transporting wagons that I have. Well, at least certainly at the moment. So it was this or nothing. The other thing is there are some quite hefty weight restrictions on the Kyle of Lochalsh line, so that's why I've only got 5 of them. I mean it's not light, it's around 300 tons, but I mean for a freight train that's bugger all. But there we are. So that's the train. Let's get back into the cab of our glorious Class 37. I love the 37s. These are great, these things. So brakes off. Let's get underway. So obviously with this being a freight train, there are no stops along the way. And this is one of the reasons why this may not take quite so long as, well, as some of you may think. I mean, doing the full length of the Kyle line is never going to be a short run. But this could have been a hell of a lot longer if it had been a passenger service with all stops. And I'll be honest, I'm quite amazed that it's not. Then it would have been another near enough 3-hour journey. So the trip from Inverness to Kyle of Lochalsh is basically us going completely west. Going south very, very slightly, but it's like we're going west, west, southwest. So of course, as we leave Inverness here, we are going southeast, because of course we are. But unfortunately, the geography of the area means that, yeah, we have to start by going in completely the opposite direction to that which we need to. We then turn round and then eventually we do start heading north. We are crossing the bridge of the I think this is the Moray Firth. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. And it's the first that we're having to go right the way around. So we are going right the way through central Inverness. And there is the Inverness Caledonian Thistle football ground. Now we have this bridge coming up which has a mere 10 mph speed limit on it, because the bridge is extremely old and rather frail. The Kyle line operates in very much the same way as the West Highland line, and specifically the West Highland line as it is yeah, sort of done in the extension part where you have to have the tokens to enter and leave certain parts of the route. It is somewhat simulated in this route, but not as well as it is in the West Highland Line extension. Because with this being a quick drive route, it may not be necessary. So yeah, this is the bridge that I was talking about. As we go across what I think is the entrance to the Caledonian Canal. That's a boat trip I would really like to do. I've done a few sort of like canal trips and river trips and things like that, and yeah, Caledonian Canal I think looks fantastic. I'd really like to do that one. So we're now into the 65 mph zone. Let's get some proper speed up. Now, in the first video I did on this route, when I went from Inverness to Dingwall, the reason why I stopped at Dingwall, well, there's actually two reasons. Firstly, it's the only sort of like major-ish town on the route once you leave Inverness. And secondly, I thought it was the northernmost point, so it was the furthest north in Britain that I could go. Now it turns out on that second point, no, I was wrong. There is actually a station that is slightly further north than Dingwall is. There's not a lot in it, but nevertheless it is further north, so I'll mention that station when we get to it. Now the next station that we will be approaching I think is called Bewley. It might be pronounced Bowley, I'm really not sure. And that is the smallest railway station in Britain. Does really look like 52 is the fastest we can do. I mean, we are going on an uphill gradient here, 1 in 101, so that's not helping much. I am pretty sure we are also still travelling south. But yeah, you can see over there, I think that is still part of the, it may not be the Moray Firth, but it is certainly part of the Firth. Yeah, we have to cross that, and then once we have done so, as we reach this level crossing, but yeah, once we've done so, crossed over the other side, in fact, it might even be that we just drive right the way around it. We just cross over a small river that flows out of it. Then we start heading north. Now this looks like we are on the curve here, which is starting to take us around here. So we're going to be starting to head west anyway. We're now back in the 65 zone. I didn't even see that come along. So let's get our speed back up. So according to our ETA, this is still going to take somewhere, yeah, over 3 hours. Just in case you had any doubts that this was a Northlander request. Looks like we've got a bridge coming up, another small one. We're now on a 1 in 99 downhill, so we are still going to be accelerating, even with the throttle off. Very much along the banks of the Firth here. This suggests we got a level crossing coming up. Quite where it's going to go once you get onto the right hand side, I have no idea. But it doesn't look like there's a level crossing at all, so I don't know why that whistle notification was there. Anyway, unless that was it. Anyway, yeah, we're now on a 1 in 100 uphill, so it's now, god dear, it's quite a steep downhill. 1 in 94. We were really close to yeah, having our speed fine for this incoming 50 mph section. As I say, it's very short, so I think it's because we're going over a relatively fragile bridge. So this, yeah, this is the bit I was talking about earlier. So yeah, that's us crossing the Firth, but yeah, that's oh no, I think this is it here, yeah. But yeah, it is actually just us crossing a very small tributary from it, and we are now starting to head back north again. We're also back in the this is where we were supposed to stop for this yeah, the token exchange. But I think on this route the token exchange is only necessary if you have people who have requested stops. Every stop apart from Inverness, Dingwall and Kyle of Lochalsh are all the rest are all request stops. So you would have had to stop there and then find out if there have been any requests made, and then you would get back on the way again. And obviously, because we are doing a freight run, we're not going to have any requests at all. Very much like an abandoned station there, or certainly an abandoned platform. Obviously I got no idea what the station was. So let's coast back down to 55, this incoming section. I mean, it's still a mile away, but so here comes Bewley Station. the smallest station in the UK. It really is a blink and you miss it station. And the platform is less than half a carriage long. Slowed down rather more than we needed to. So, now in the 55 zone. The Bewley station is definitely on that northbound section that I was referring to. Very nearly started speeding there. So there's a lot of freight here, but the actual station, as far as passengers are concerned, that's it. That's the whole of it there. This bit, no, none of that is it's just that. So it is ridiculously small. So we are still in the 55 section, but we do have a 65 zone fast approaching. There we are, in the 65 zone now. There's a bit of clank we can see. We got a really slow section coming up though. 15 mph section as we approach Muir of Ord. Muir of Ord, it sounds like it's another one of those station names and place names that sounds like it's come from Middle Earth or something. So again, this is where we would be picking up if there are any requests. Now I'm thinking if it's 15 here, there must be a passing loop or something. about it. I don't really want to be braking at the moment. We're still 0.4 of a mile away. It's still far enough. Don't really want to be just sort of like, you know, just pottering along at like 15 mph for any longer than I really have to. So on a 1 in 99 uphill section. So we're fine speed wise now. It says points are set, and it had a yellow. And clearly we're fine. Did take a bit of a risk. Should have checked that actually before we came in. I'll do it for any other stations. So here we are at Muir of Ord station. I think this is another of those stations where, yeah, the number of people we're seeing on the platforms here, that's probably the entire population. Although looking around, there's a lot more houses than that around here than I thought there would be. Maybe it's a, well, relatively major town. Well, major village, shall we say. I think it's too small to be a town, but it's fair size for a village. I have a feeling I am going to be picking up an awful lot of SPAD errors on this run. But anyway, we're on to single rails and we will very soon be able to do 65 once more. There we go. Up we go. Full on. Certainly looks like agricultural storage area. Yeah, I think all of the agriculture in this part of Scotland would be involving livestock. You're not going to be growing much in the way of crops out here. So Cullen Bridge is the next station we'll be going through. We're now on a 1 in 180 downhill, and I think it's going to get steeper still, so we'll cruise close for a bit. Yeah, we are picking up speed now. It's now 1 in 100. Well, according to the ETA, we do now have less than 3 hours. Now 1 in 97 downhill. To start braking because we've got a 40 mph section coming up. Really, it's still the best part of a mile away, but Cullen Bridge is another one of these tiny little stations. So yeah, this is it here. And that again, that's the whole thing. Okay, so we are fine now as far as our speed through this 40 section. It must be because of this viaduct we're going over. I think we are just slightly too north to be able to see Loch Ness. We are going to be sort of following its path, but we're not actually going to be close enough to actually see it, which is a bit of a shame, but there you go. So we are back in the 65 zone. Away we go. I think the next station might be Dingwall. It does indeed look as if that is the case. So here is the next section, which we would have needed a token for. Again, it looks like there are points approaching Dingwall station, and the passing looks, I'm fairly sure. Yeah, Dingwall is, there's 2 lines going through the actual station itself. It wasn't that long ago that they must have needed to put a lot of extra trains on Saturdays, because both Dingwall and Inverness had football teams in the Scottish Premier League. I mean, none of them are there now. slowed down a bit too much, I think. Again, the yellow there, well, last time that showed that the points were fine and we're speeding. I've let the go up too high. So this is Dingwall, and yeah, this is by far the largest town and the largest station until we reach Kyle of Lochalsh. In fact, this is bigger than the station at Kyle of Lochalsh. Yeah, only Inverness has a larger station than this. So over there is the football ground for Ross County. Clearly bowler hats are the in thing for people of the Highlands to be wearing. We're soon entering a 40 section, but it doesn't last very long, and we're down to 20. Now that line there that's heading north, I think you'll find that is the line that takes you to Thurso and Wick. Which is a line that I really wish there was, you know, was in the game. So we're into the 40 zone. We can really only go up to 20 at the moment. Thankfully, we're only going to be doing 20 for about half a mile. Into the 20 zone. Another level crossing. See, this is a Just Trains route, so it's using Just Trains assets, but here, yeah, the roads are grey or near enough black, whereas if we were using Dovetail Games assets, they are such a weird shade of grey that they look green. Another level crossing. I think we can see now why this section is only 20 mph. There you go, see, this actually looks like a road. It's not fucking green like so many of the Dovetail Games ones are. I've no idea why they are. You'd have thought they'd be able to see, oh yeah, this colour's not quite right. But no, they used it. So let's get ourselves up to 40. Now I have a feeling for the rest of this run, 40 is pretty much the max we can do. In fact, we're going down to 35 fairly soon. Then down to 20, so yeah, we've got a lot of very slow sections. So this looks like another, yeah, another token exchange if we had the radio thing set up. Now it would suggest that there's another station coming along, but I can't see one. And there's nothing on the route display either. So one of the guests is wanting out. Hey, you. Oh. So it's now 1 in 50 uphill. Speed is really plummeting. Jesus Christ, okay, I can certainly see why this is so slow. 1 in 50 uphill over an extremely narrow bridge. Yeah, that makes sense. Into a 35 zone, still climbing 1 in 50, so our acceleration is not going to be great. But it's moments like this that I'm glad that yeah, the freight is rather light. This 1 in 50 section goes on for a fair while. no way the amount of tea I've got in there is going to last me for this journey. There's certainly no mistaking we're in the Highlands now. Would be changing our region if I had, yeah, I haven't even got one, the old CSR, GSR, whatever they're called, the radios. I don't even have one of those in this. Anyway. Still on this 1 in 50 uphill. Hopefully that will be enough to slow us down to 30 for this upcoming. Yeah, it's definitely going to be enough. We're going to be well below 30 if we let it continue to coast, which obviously I am not going to do. See, this kind of route, having to traverse a gradient like this is where you'd be thinking, ah, Class 60 would absolutely excel in this sort of environment. It's too heavy. The weight restrictions on this line are significant. And there are so many trains that, you know, yeah, would have no problem getting through, you know, this environment, but yeah, they would just be doing so much damage to the lines, you know, to the rails. It's just impossible. So I suspect the Class 37 is probably about as heavy and as powerful as a train could be, and still be able to do this this route. Especially when it comes to yeah, doing freight runs. Maybe not one that's as light as this one, but I think passenger services on this line, I mean nowadays, yeah, they use, I think, Class 170s and maybe now we'll be using class 196. But around the time that we're doing it here, it would have probably been class 31s and 33s at most. Okay, probably more likely to be things like class 24, 25, 26. Approaching a 40 mph section. There we are, so we are in the 40 section, but not for long. How's this for typical? We do start to descend, but we've got a 20 mph section coming up. So we are going to have to really control our speed through braking here. What's the gradient like? 1 in 85. Well, it could have been worse. Now, of course, there's me talking about the class 60 and how that would have been an ideal one for this environment. Of course, the other one, the old faithful class 66. But no, the 66 is far too heavy. No way they'd be able to use one of those on there. I mean, even the lightest variant of class 66 weighs 125 tons, far too heavy. So that, yeah, very small, very narrow bridge there that we went over, that was the reason for that 20 mph section. So we're now in a 40, so we can accelerate a little bit as we pull away. Yeah, we'll coast for now because we're approaching a 30 section. Got a quite heavily forested area that we are now in, and I don't know why, but I've never associated the Highlands with being like quite heavily forested. I thought it was like mostly, you know, like bracken and stuff that was growing up around here. I didn't think there were like, you know, these big old forests and that. So, no idea why I thought that, but... The only reason I can think of is because when I think of the Highlands, I always imagine like Glencoe, which is possibly the most scenic part of the world, let alone, you know, anything else. I would genuinely go that far, as we are now on a 1 in 50 downhill. And yeah, there's barely a tree to be seen as you go through Glencoe. I put the brakes on, but yeah, they were a bit slow to react. In this area like this is when I'm glad it's only a light freight run, because You imagine trying to do this in something like a 66 with about 25 bloody cargo flats behind you. Before anyone gets any ideas, no, I'm not going to attempt it. Again, too slow to put the brakes on. Okay, it's still downhill, but it's now 1 in 100. It's steep enough, but it's not as steep. Easing out even more now. 1 in 201. Yeah, we're not even gaining speed now. Doesn't look like it's getting any steeper either. We can actually throttle up a bit. Well, we got through that first test. Surprised there wasn't another speed limit on that bridge. speed increase coming up. No idea what that road is, but it's a drive I would certainly like to do. Although, to be honest, I'd rather be doing it on the train here. Kyle of Lochalsh is frequently described as the most scenic route in Scotland. Now, considering that claim means it's more scenic than any part of the West Highland line. It's a bold claim, but I mean, its location means, yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with it, or certainly believe it. I mean, I've never done the route, so I couldn't tell you, but this certainly does give the impression that that is the case. So we have another station coming up, Garve, in just under a mile. So this 40 section, which we're fast approaching, is utterly pointless. We're in the 40 zone now, but yeah, you couldn't possibly accelerate to, well, anywhere near 40 before you then got to start putting the brakes on to get down to 15. So that 40 section really is a waste of time, I think. In the 15 zone. I mean, to be honest, this Garve station looks like it's a reasonable size for being way out here. And by Scottish village standards, it looks a reasonable size. What a place to live. I bet it's fantastic, this place. So here is Garve station. Well, there's me saying about road tarmac colours. We're going over a stretch of road here that's red. Well, that's one way of making sure that the cars don't drive in here. Yeah. I didn't notice the one in 50 uphill gradient we're now on. Yeah. glad once we're in this 35 zone. There we are. So another uphill section. Now I think the next station, I can't remember the name of it, but I do know it was one that when I saw it I was thinking, Jesus Christ, have I really got to try and pronounce that? But I think that is the one that is the furthest north in the UK in this game. Acceleration rate is pretty bad at the moment, although to be frank I'm amazed we are accelerating at all. Climbing up a 1 in 50 gradient here. Really hear the old turbocharger whine, because the turbocharger in this thing is actually in front of us. We're now on a 1 in 76, it's not quite as steep. We're also now in a 40 zone, so yeah, the turbocharger, well, it depends on what end we're at, of course it doesn't tell us, but unless that doesn't show. But if we were at end, actually I think it's end 2 or cab 2, that's where the turbocharger is in, like, yeah, the nose section. There are blowers in the end of both, and I think no, it's the intercoolers in each nose section. One of them has a blower, one of them has a turbocharger. Apparently there is a difference between the two, but I'm not sure what it is. None of which though are anywhere near as important as the two other things that are in there. One is yeah, the driver's kettle, and the other, the most important thing of all, the driver's own car seat, which yeah, that would be a necessity. We are now approaching another downhill section, 1 in 67. It's speed going up at quite a rate. leveled out here a bit, but it's not going to stay leveled out for very long. So now I'm 1 in 51 downhill. Of course, unlike the run that I did going through central Wales to Blaenau Festiniog, here we will, you know, as whenever we are going uphill, we are going to have to come back down again, because Kyle of Lochalsh is very much at ground level, because that is where you would, well, there's now a bridge there, but it used to be a ferry to go over to the Isle of Skye. It's not a particularly long journey. I'm amazed it took them as long to build a bridge to it as they did, but of course doing so did take away the livelihood of those that ran the ferries. There's really no argument that yeah, a bridge was needed. Yeah, that next station then, Lochalsh. That's as good as I'm going to get it. But that is the northernmost station on this run. Now I don't know if Lochalsh is the name of the loch that we are on the travelling along the banks of. It certainly doesn't sound familiar. As I say, we are essentially following. Actually, no, we're too far north really of the lochs that make up like the Caledonian Canal and that. As steep as it is downhill here, 1 in 75, it looks like it's going to be that again uphill as we approach the station. There we are, so it's 1 in 60 uphill. Here is said station. Bigger than I thought it would be, but nevertheless, yeah, it really does look like a few porter cabins. Right, 1 in 50 downhill again. Now it's going to level out quite a bit, I think. And it does look like we are pretty much at ground level. I mean, look how close the water's edge is. So 1 in 50 uphill again. So now going back downhill again 1 in 50. Now leveling out, but I've got to continue braking because we have a 30 mph section fast approaching. Be braking pretty hard. We've got to get down to below 20. Well, get down to 20. There we go. I suspect this is probably to do with the terrain more than anything else. We are on this, this curve is not hugely tight. It's tight enough, but yeah, I think the terrain is probably very marshy around here. Yeah, this is quite a tight bend, and over that narrow bridge, and on marshy terrain. Yeah, the 20 mph limit certainly makes sense there. So into a 30 zone, very soon into another 40 zone. I didn't see the gradient. Oh well, we're not speeding now. So next station, Achenalt. We are about halfway now in terms of distance. May even be about halfway in terms of time as well. I certainly don't think we're going to get too many more zones that we can be doing 65 mph in. So, Ackenhout. Looks very much like there, yeah, there were two lines here at one point. Must have been a passing loop. I can't for the life of me see why they would have taken it away. That doesn't make sense at all. No. Well, Ackenhout looks like a hamlet that's made up of about 4 houses, maybe 5. Anyway, back into the 40 zone. We are climbing up a 1 in 80. It doesn't look as steep as 1 in 80 on the route display, so I can only imagine what this downhill gradient that we are fast approaching is going to be. In 100. Well, we are still picking up speed on it, so in 200 uphill. It's not really going to affect us much. What's this downhill like? 1 in 74. We've got to start braking here. Didn't stay at that gradient for long, so we're all right. Just in case there is anybody out there watching this who is not aware that the nickname for Class 37 is the Tractor, or if there's anyone who doesn't know how it got that name. To start braking here for this 35 section. There we go. Now I have no idea what that sound is, but I do hear it. It tends to always be in 37s. I think there are one or two other locos where I hear that sound as well, but I have no idea what it is. So if anyone does know, yeah, feel free to bung it in the comments. As always, once again, I say that knowing full well that no one will, but you never know. 1 in 40 gradient here, Jesus Christ. We are still able to increase speed. Right, we're now on a 1 in 60 downhill. Into a 40 zone. Looks like there's a station coming up though. Indeed. So, back on the machine. Now, that light is not telling us that the points are set. Well, I'm not taking any chances. Let's save it. Looks like we're all right. So, Achnashin station. So yeah, we've got more on the station here. Yeah, we've got a proper station building. So there's more actually on this station here than there are on some of the stations that are on the West Coast Main Line. Into a 40 zone, here we go. One in 60 uphill. I didn't notice that, even though the acceleration rate clearly indicates that we are going up a rather steep gradient. It's certainly not hard to see why this thing is single, you know, just a single track for pretty much the entirety. I mean, it must have taken a monumental effort to build this thing as it is, with just a single track. I mean, you imagine how much more it would have taken to build, you know, two track, and really there would have been no need for it. I applied the brakes a fraction too late. Now, those sort of like bumps that we've been hitting, that's about the third one since we left Achnashin station. They are causing a lot of annoyance to players of the game, because if you're doing a passenger run in a career scenario, those bumps, which are unavoidable, yeah, you get the passenger complaining about, yeah, the passenger comfort, and you get deductions for it. So scoring 1000 on any of the career scenarios that involve you having to go through that section, it can't be done. So I mean, getting a gold score is probably still possible, but getting 1000, no, you can't do it. Which is a bit of a surprise, because Just Trains, I get the impression, in fact it's more than the impression, you know, from my own experience, Just Trains route add-ons are much better quality than DTG's. Same with their locomotives actually, but I mean, I can't deny it, they're not up there with Armstrong Powerhouse, but they are still bloody good. Certainly still better than DTG's. Although there's really only two, I need to let out my other guest. Yeah, where was, oh yeah, right, yeah, DTG locos. I mean, there's only really two that I would say you should definitely get. The Class 153, because it's the only way you can get it, and the Class 20. Because even though all their others are certainly better than the DTG ones, so you know, you got like the Class 60 and the Class 67. Actually, yeah, I would. Right, it's three that you definitely want to get. The 153, the 20, and the 60. But the 67, yeah, it's great. But there is an Armstrong Powerhouse one. And even though I don't have it yet, I suspect it's probably the best of the lot. So on a 1 in 75, but it looks like the downhill section is going to be getting quite a bit steeper right there. How steep? Well, we are about to find out. One in 50. That's steep enough. Now, while we are in a relatively quiet part of this run, well, to be honest, the whole thing has been a relatively quiet part, but you know what I mean. There was one question that I was asked, and it was along the lines of, yeah, my, again, it's another sort of spin-off of my saying that Blackadder was the most overrated sitcom that there's ever been. Doesn't run away with that, by the way. Only Fools and Horses is definitely up there with it. But, yeah, I was asked about what I consider most overrated film and most overrated song, seeing as I have done both films and music on this channel as well. The problem is there are so many of both. So trying to come up with yeah, one specific answer, easier said than done. But well, certainly as far as films go, any film by Quentin Tarantino, I detest that fucking shyster. And I hate his films. Now granted, it's been quite a while since he did a film where even the critics were saying, yeah, this is good. But yeah, I just cannot stand him. So definitely the likes of Reservoir Dogs, which is the sort of film I detest anyway. Those films that sort of glorify all the gang culture and all that shit. I fucking hate all that. Pulp Fiction, again, definitely not my kind of film. Other films in the running, Avatar, absolutely. Although it does appear that a lot of people are now starting to see Avatar for what it really was. As a technical exercise it stands out, but the story was threadbare at best. And the less said about the fucking sequels, the better. The films of Stanley Kubrick, yeah, they certainly even the Kubrick films that are more tolerable would all have been a downside better if they weren't so clearly Kubrick films. They didn't have all of his usual sort of like trademark bloody not gratuitous, you know, pompous bloody guff that he insists on putting in all of them. Pretentious, that's the word I was trying to think of. The worst one for me is 2001, because it's sci-fi. I should be a big fan of it, and the story is fantastic. The book is superb. I've got the book. I've got the book of the entire Odyssey series, but the film is so Glencurran Lodge brackets closed, so it would suggest that this is occasionally used as a station. Now we're on a 1 in 50 downhill, so I'm not going to keep I'm not going to turn the brakes off. We've won't have lost a hell of a lot of speed as we go past it. I'm wondering if this means that there's no actual platform, especially as, yeah, it's not actually marked as a station. Let's see what this is all about. A very narrow bridge. Jesus, that's it. It's like garden shed. Oh, yeah, of course. How could I have forgotten? I can't remember the cunt's name, but it's the one that he was either the brother or something of Ridley Scott, and he did the cinema world a huge favour by throwing himself off a bridge. But I mean, he is the arsehole responsible for Top Gun, which is a film I absolutely detest, and Days of Thunder. Days of Thunder has the exact same plot as Top Gun. In fact, so does the vast majority of Tom Cruise films, especially those that were made in the 80s. The only Tom Cruise film that I can actually stomach is Legend, and that was a Ridley Scott film. But I think what made that film great was the makeup effects, Rob Bottin effects, so you know, you knew they were going to be good, and yeah, they were. So there you are, overrated films anyway. You can pick the bones out of that lot. Overrated songs, I mean, you've got a million and one to choose from. Just about every song that got to #1 between now and about 1975, you know. There you go. How about living there? I reckon I could stomach that. I wasn't paying attention. It just got into the like speeding territory as I applied the brakes. They didn't start to have any effect until it was too late. I mean, the career scenarios on this route, and it is somewhat rare for Just Trains routes to have career scenarios, but this is one that does. There's only about, it's either 5 or 6, and at least 3 of them involve doing the entire length of the run. Needless to say, I've only done 2 of them, neither of which were do the entire length of the run. So, Lochalsh is the next station. I don't know if it's just the way it's been rendered in the game or if it is like this in real life, but this area here really looks like that used to be a lake. But you can see a river over there, but I think, yeah, it used to actually be a lake or a loch. You know, we're now on a 1 in 60 uphill, no wonder our speed had absolutely nosedived. Oh, there it is. So that is Lochalsh station. And it does amaze me that there are stations like this out there, but well, you can see that there are clearly, yeah, like villages and that which you know, these stations serve, so clearly there would be the demand for it. Quite a bit over the speed limit here. Good job I slowed it down when we did. That's a sharp turn we've just taken there. Still going down the hill. It's 1 in 115, so our speed, while still going up, is not going up hugely fast, so we're alright for now. According to the ETA, we have just over an hour still to go. And to be fair, even though this is, yeah, it's certainly a long old run, it doesn't feel like it's dragging, not at all. Yeah, not like the Dumfries, no, the Stranraer to Carlisle run. That one did really drag. This one isn't, not in the slightest. change of radio zone. How about living somewhere like this? You got the loch, you got fantastic views of the Highlands. I would have no problem living somewhere like this. Although it'd be even better if there was actually a railway station quite close to us. So those houses we passed, there were more houses there than there were in some locations that had stations. This place looks like it's, well, I was going to say tailor-made for a railway station. By this line standards, it is. And the ground is, you know, nice and flat. I reckon you could certainly build one here. Gradient caught me out there. Now 1 in 60. Ground has levelled out once more. We are once again crossing, it's probably that same river which we've now crossed about 3 or 4 times. Approaching another uphill section. 1 in 90. It looks like we have another station coming up in a mile. Downhill 1 in 75, and we have a 15 mph limit coming up. So Strathcarron is the next station. Kyle of Lochalsh is now less than 19 miles away, so yeah, we're getting through this at well, it's not like we're getting through it at breakneck speed, but we're certainly getting through it. And like I say, it's not dragging. One in 97 uphill, certainly helping to bring our speed down. We're now downhill. That light not being lit, it made no difference in the last station, so I'm going to take the chance that it's not going to make any difference here. So we're still going downhill, 1 in 109. Now we're okay. So, Strathcarron station. I cannot believe for 1 minute or 1 second that there were this many people on the platform waiting for the next train. So this 40 section, again, pretty pointless, because by the time we're in it, we're almost halfway towards the 35 section, so yeah, we can accelerate to 35. I bet you your life that's that same river again. Obviously flowing into this loch that we are approaching at a fair rate. Well, we are now anyway. I do have to say that even though this is not the train that I'd hoped it was when I was putting the consist together, it's done properly alright. So yeah, quite a large loch here. No idea which one. To be honest, if it isn't Loch Ness or Loch Lomond, then chances are I've no clue. next station coming up? Atterdale. We've managed to shave off at least 20 minutes off the original ETA, so we must be going through this at a pretty good rate by this route standard. So, Atterdale station, such as it is, cannot see a single house that that station is serving. So that must be, yeah, very much one that's more for, yeah, like farming supplies coming in or something. It certainly doesn't look like a you know, regular passenger stop, because there weren't any passengers there for it to stop for. Oh shit. I didn't see that 25. I was too busy looking at the scenery. Yeah, I hope this doesn't mean that the rest of the route is 25, but it does really look like it. I mean, okay, yeah, we are right on the coastline here. Shoreline, I should say. And being this remote, yeah. If we came off the rails and ended up, yeah, in the loch there, we're not getting any help for quite some time. This 50 gradient doesn't last very long. Yeah, in fact we're already off it, so... no surprise, what little tea is still in there is now absolutely stone cold. Yeah, how steep is this? Putting the brakes on, we're not even slowing down. Alright, we certainly are now, 45%. Yeah, 1 in 50 downhill, no wonder it was yeah, being a bit of a pain in the arse. Now it's fine. More disappearing cars. Slow coming off the throttle. Well, this could actually be the coast that we are on. We should make, well, presumably the Isle of Skye around there, although it doesn't extend right that way out. That would suggest that no, this is not the coast. Down the hill again, I wasn't paying attention. 1 in 87, not that steep, but steep enough. It does indeed look as though the rest of this journey is going to be done at 25 at most. Now 1 in 60 uphill, but the gradients are constantly changing, so yeah, Gotta really be paying attention. And this far into the drive, yeah, I'm not quite there. When I saw that station coming into view, I thought it was going to say Stromach or Stromash, whatever the Scottish slang is for a proper old punch up. So is that Stromferry or Stromferry? I think it's Stromferry. Well, at least we get a speed increase once we go through there. We can do a staggering 30 mph then. There's no speed decrease as we go in. There's also no passing lane there. It's not showing a platform, so it is just on the one side. There we go, we've got two houses there that are being served. Here is Stromferry Station. We've got another couple of houses here, so yeah, not too bad. I could certainly handle living there. So we're now in a 30 zone. Let's get some proper speed that way. I mean, the drawback with starting this video when I did is it's currently 5 to 11. And I still need to edit and re-encode this video and then upload it. So I might get to bed by about 3 in the morning. Downhill section we're on, one in 147. Not too bad, but I think yeah, we are still going to be accelerating on it very slowly, but speed is going up, so we are going to need to be controlling it a bit with the old brakes. Kyle of Lochalsh is now less than 10 miles away, single digits in terms of distance. So I've got a interruption coming up. It's only as if I'd give up. But, let's get ourselves back up to 30 again. Doesn't look like we have any gradients coming along anytime soon. Another station. Didn't expect to see another one until Kyle of Lochalsh itself. So Duncraig is the next station we are going through. Again, no speed decreases as we go through, so there's no points, no passing loop there, just a single platform. here we are, just right on the other side of this bridge. Tiny little platform there. That was Duncraig Station. See, quite a yeah, that's a pretty good place actually to have the station. There's a fair-sized town we can see on the other side of the river there, or the other side of the loch. Kyle of Lochalsh isn't that big, surely, is it? I mean, is that what we're seeing there? We do have yet another station coming up. And on this 1 in 82 uphill climb that I didn't notice until now. So, Plockton is the next stop. Well, it would appear that, yeah, the big town is Plockton here, which, well, I was not expecting. That's a long old platform, considering that, yeah, it's on a line like this. That must be the penultimate station, surely. Yeah, again, I only just saw it. Well, there's no denying it, I've racked up a huge number of speeding errors. Oh, there is another station coming along. So this is Inverness. Yeah, something like that. So we're now going uphill. Let's try and keep our speed somewhat constant. are downhill again, 1 in 61. Yeah, speed is going up at quite the rate. Ground's levelling out. This is certainly a flat area. So this is, yeah, during-ish. Well, yeah, we've got as many as 3 houses there that this one's serving. I mean, there is all this like the distance here. So it's now 1 in 64 downhill. That was close. Mind you, with the amount of speeding errors I've already racked up, it wouldn't have exactly made a hell of a lot of difference. Well, this certainly does look like we're now on the coast, which is hardly surprising, seeing as Kyle of Lochalsh is less than 3 miles away. that 15 mph section that's coming up is entirely because of yeah, the fact that we are very much coming to the end. There is the station. No sign of the station at all. Just to make sure that you're still awake. So, fine for this final speed limit reduction. We come in at 15. In the 15 zone now. Well, here we are. Let's get ourselves actually into the station, or the main station building. Even though obviously we don't actually have any passengers to come off. But there we go. Well, it took quite some time. There is the bridge that takes you onto Skye. But that was Inverness to Kyle of Lochalsh, the entire length of the Kyle line. in the class 37 doing our freight run. I hope they appreciate the arrival of these not huge number of logs that we brought in. Alright, let's see how we did, because yeah, we've got a lot of speeding errors to count up there. 16 of them. I knew it was a lot. I didn't think it was going to be as many as that. Yeah, that's a huge amount. Yeah, that was actually a pretty good run, or a pretty good drive, I should say. It wasn't a good run. 16 speeding errors, yeah, anything but a good run. But I am glad that I did it in the direction that I did, because that last part, when it went down to initially 30 mph and then down to 25 mph for, you know, much of the last, I don't think it was as long as the last quarter of it, but we'll say it's about that last amount. That did make it start to drag on, and especially with all those gradient changes that were all coming like thick and fast. And even though they were relatively short, they were always so steep that they really did sort of like impact on the speed, and that's where a hell of a lot of my speeding errors came from. And if I'd had to deal with that at the start, you know, so spending so much of the run going that slowly and getting all of these speeding errors because of all the gradients, I would have been a bit sort of like miffed with it, and I would not have been enjoying it. So by the time we got to Inverness, I'd be glad to see the back of the thing. So at least I did it this way so that, yeah, I was able to actually enjoy the thing. And now that I know what's coming, I suppose I could stomach doing it the other way, but don't get any ideas of requesting that just yet. Give me some fucking time. Yeah. All in all, not bad at all, and it's certainly your sort of usual Just Trains sort of quality. You know, it's a lot better than the vast majority of the Dovetail Games own ones. I wouldn't say it was as good as the Conwy Valley freeware one that I did recently, but I mean that one was exceptional. So, but there we go. That is that video done, and we will see you at the next one.